That all said, let's go ahead and get into the last topic here, which is that AOC is basically letting people know how to avoid law enforcement right now, which honestly, based as hell. But first, let's get into the fan art section. The first piece of fan art we have here is from the wonderful Pernia. Said this seems so empty from when the Discord server got first built up. Also, Jesus fucking Christ. Pernia's artwork is always so goddamn good. Jesus Christ. Thank you so much, Pernia, for this. I appreciate you. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop the fan art into the fan art section of the Discord, and then, of course, I will get to it whenever I can on the channel. That all said, let's go ahead and get right into today's topic. Our video today comes to us from Fox News so that we can actually get their opinion on what AOC is, well, trying to do. We're going to get their perspective on this.
Joining me now is Border Czar Tom Homan. Tom, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. The arrests are up, and yet you still get pushback from the sanctuary cities. How significant is that pushback, and is it stopping you from doing your job?
Oh, it's absolutely not going to stop us. I mean, it makes our job more difficult, makes the job more dangerous. I mean, the numbers, as you said, we're more than twice the numbers as Joe Biden had a year ago from today, and the vast majority being public safety threats. But am I happy? No, I want more, because we had, last count, we had over 600,000 illegal aliens with criminal convictions walking the streets of this country. So we got a lot of them to find. But sanctuary city makes it difficult. What's most concerning, though,
I'm going to be honest, this man, this is not a judgment call on how well he does his job, but this man rolled to have a -1 modifier on all of his charisma checks. This man walks around with an 8 on his charisma score while thinking that he's a paladin, wondering why the fuck all of his spell casts always miss. That's every single word out of this person's mouth makes me think he needs to sit down with somebody whose job it is to teach people how to speak and actually learn how to speak to a camera a little bit if you're going to be on the news. That said, so, okay, what's going on here is that he's suggesting that Representative Ocasio-Cortez should not be aiding illegal immigrants right now with sanctuary cities. Now, what is a sanctuary city? It is effectively a place, so you're thinking Channel 6. What? I don't know what you're talking about there. Think of Charisma 6. Charisma of 6. Now, he just has the -1 modifier. He just has the -1 modifier. That's all it is. But basically, a sanctuary city is anywhere where undocumented immigrants are able to exist without getting deported, without getting prosecuted. They are able to be there for an extended amount of time, usually while their paperwork is being processed, usually while they are trying to become legal citizens of the United States, if that is indeed their goal. Not every immigrant, or not every illegal immigrant in the United States is looking to be a citizen, but a lot of them are. I would even argue most of them are. And a sanctuary city provides you a place that you are able to be at for that amount of time. Now, there is no official designation for what a sanctuary city is, but it is basically just an area where the policy limits what a local and state government can do for giving or for getting information about immigrants that may or may not be living in the states or living in that particular area of the state.
it makes it more dangerous. When we can arrest a bad guy in a county jail, if one officer arrests one guy in the safety and security of county jail or a state prison, but when these sanctuary cities release a public safety threat back into the public, which on its face is just ridiculous, It's more dangerous for the ICE officers to make that arrest. It's more dangerous for the alien, and it's certainly more dangerous for the communities. Releasing a public safety threat back in the community is just dumb. And
All right, but this is assuming that every illegal immigrant in the United States is a public safety threat, and they're not. In fact, statistically, illegal immigrants in the United States are responsible for less crime than natural-born citizens. And you know what? Here, hold on. Let me go ahead and pull this one real quick out, because I know this one like the back of my hand. Here we are, from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. This is from 2020. Just a real quick graphic for you, because graphics are very, very easy to read. In terms of violent crimes, drug violations, and property crimes, the person most likely to commit these crimes in the United States is a U.S.-born citizen. The person least likely to commit these crimes is an undocumented immigrant, and then, of course, legal immigrants do still commit these crimes, but they commit them at a lower rate than U.S.-born citizens. Now, why do we see the numbers that we do? Well, it's very, very simple. People who are illegal immigrants in a country do less crime because they don't want to get fucking deported. They don't want to get sent back to whatever country they left. And you know how you avoid getting sent back to the country you left? You keep your head down. You keep your head down and you do less stupid shit. And if you are doing less crime in the United States, you don't show up on these statistics. Wow, what a weird scenario. So if you're going to use language that paints every illegal immigrant, every undocumented immigrant, as a criminal, because they are a danger to society, it ignores the actual statistics that the person who is most likely to engage in crime in the United States is the natural-born citizen in the United States.
puts the communities at great risk of more crime. So we want to work with the sanctuaries.
Except it doesn't. It doesn't put the community at risk of more crime. Statistically, it does not. It really does not. Now, granted, those were the statistics for Texas, which is where you would expect to see the highest disparity, because that is an area where the border crossing happens the most.
Cities and get into the jail. Give us access to the guy that you locked in a jail cell. That's who we want to talk to.
Well, I mean, look, you've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez doing webinars to explain to illegal immigrants how to evade ICE arrests, and then she...
Based. If that is what she's actually doing, based. But are you going to show any examples of what her webinar is?
Tweeted out after something you said maybe she's going to be in trouble now, and she says maybe he can learn to read the Constitution would be a good place to start. She's continuing her resist efforts against your efforts, Tom.
Look, I forgot more about the Constitution, immigration enforcement as you ever know. I mean, I had to educate her during congressional testimony that entering the country illegally is a crime. So,
did you have to educate her? He's just sitting here fucking mumbling. I have forgotten more about the Constitution than she'll ever know. No, the fuck you haven't. So the actual bit that we're talking about right here is right here. Where Ingram says, you got AOC putting out a webinar to help illegals avoid apprehension. I sent a letter to the Department of the Attorney General today. Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now. Maybe he can learn to read the Constitution would be a good place to start. So, I'm actually curious. Let's see here. AOC will face charges for teaching illegal immigrants how to avoid capture by ICE. This person here saying, I do hope I see you in cuffs all over the news and stations and social media. Is she actually? AOC will face charges Man, I feel like that's not actually true, though. I feel like that's not actually true, though. Hold on. AOC will face charges for illegal. That's all I should have to type in. Okay, so that's different. Under investigation over illegal migrant video. Okay. That's not the same thing as will face charges. That's it. Just the DOJ is looking into her, which they would, because if you're being told, hey, maybe this person is going to be is impeding the government, then yeah, the government's going to investigate you. But okay, see here, Trump made strict immigration. We already know all of that fun stuff. Where's the webinar that she actually used? So let's see how Fox reports on it.
When one of these things comes to your backyard, you can resist. And what that happens over millions of people is that you generate enough friction that they cannot go as fast as they want to go. Make sure that you are slowing down this system.
Boy, howdy. They're only playing like 10 seconds of the video, but they're already saying the exact, like AOC is already saying the exact shit that I've been saying for weeks. The goal is to gum up the system. The goal is to slow it down. Does that mean that I'm gonna get fucking investigated by the DOJ? Probably not. Probably not. Let me see if we can figure out where this actually happened in her video, though.
Let's talk.
Okay, so there's an hour and a half of a video here, and Fox News is playing 10 seconds of it. That's it. We're going to play real quick the part where she talks about... stream's already watched this, but I'm going to play it while actually recording for people who are watching over on YouTube. But here's where she talks about the immigration stuff real quick.
And deport all of these people at once in one go. And what do when you grab someone off the street, but you can't deport them for a long time? You build private prison camps. And this is all, we already saw them start to do that. And this is a lot.
Put it back to where she...
SpaceX. And wanted to find SpaceX. So understand, when you see all this stuff happening, it's not all random overwhelm. It's about the money. Immigration, these massive expansions on immigration, they want you to believe that they're only going after criminals. They're going after everybody. They even arrested Puerto Ricans. They're going after everybody. And understand that this is how indiscriminate they are being. And they are doing this because also, you know who finances a lot of Republican campaigns? The private prison industry. They know that they actually can't deport all of these people at once in one go. And what do when you grab someone off the street, but you can't deport them for a long time? You build private prison camps. And this is all, we already saw them start to do that. And this is, especially with passage of certain legislation, this is what it's set to do. Okay? So understand the central motivations here. This is about preying on working class people and stoking racial division so that working people turn against one another in order to vacuum and suck up what little is left of American public infrastructure and life and hand it over to Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos.
Liam Axelani, thank you very much for the 5 gifted community subs. I appreciate it. Also, Old Gus, thank you for redeeming your points for an owl. That all said, there was something mentioned in here real quick from Endlessly Big. I'll be honest, it's no surprise why black people simply aren't protesting Trump any longer and are telling people you're on your own. First of all, that's a fucking stupid sentiment. Anyway, because of the constant switching of roles gets wearisome over the span of decades. You know, the world changes over the course of decades, right? Like the needs of people and politicians and everything, that they change over the course of time. But anyway, AOC spent the Biden years supporting the Ukrainian conflict and both sides, the Israel-Gaza genocide. But now that Trump is POTUS, it's back to caring about others. So maybe this is just not understanding how politics works, but there is a level of it being basically necessary. Lamia Zolani. Okay, cool. There we go. Lamia Zolani. There is an aspect of politics which is having to work within your means in order to maintain your position so that you can make gains. Now, I don't know exactly which ways that AOC has both sides of the Israel-Gaza genocide stuff. I don't know what that is exactly in reference to. Personally, I don't. But, irrespective, there is an amount of acquiescence that has to be made when the people in your party are the people in power. It's not something that you should be doing. It is not something that is normative to do, but it is something that is done by basically everybody on all political sides. The whole see, I've had people call AOC a corporate sellout. Everybody's going to call AOC whatever the fuck they want. It's people like her or they don't. But the whole like black people simply aren't protesting Trump bullshit. And any argument given for that is also bullshit. I'm sorry, no. There should be no pockets of people in 2025 who say you are on your own, given that we are all on the fucking chopping block. None of them.
And all these corporations, etc. Okay? It's important to lay that out. Now, what do we do? Okay? What do we do about it? There are just like, okay? I know y'all are I can already hear, but just lock in for a second. Just like these problems can seem comprehensive and also overwhelming and complex, understand that we outnumber them. We outnumber them, okay? The people outnumber the 1%. The people, and not even just, and it's not just about 1% and 99, it's not just about that too. Also, everyday people of all sorts of income brackets also overwhelm the number of the corrupt, okay? Understand our strategic advantages in this moment. We outnumber them. Do not forget that. We outnumber them so dramatically that they have to try to control media and communication channels and apps, etc., because they want to and need to invoke docility, passivity in the masses in order for them.
Boy, howdy, isn't that so weird that there was just a quick argument with one person in chat about people who are willing to do the whole, nope, you're on your own thing, and generally it's against AOC, and one of the first things that AOC is saying here in the what do we do is, hey, by the way, the people in power who are shitheads win more often when people do exactly that. When people are not united, when people are willing to do the whole, well, I've got my own, or, well, you all are on your own. That's so weird. That's so weird. Anyway, so what Fox News seems to be doing, because there's an hour and a half of shit here. What Fox News seems to be doing is arguing that this entire webinar, all of it, is a giant thing about how to avoid ICE and immigration. But there seems to be a lot more substance here. Like a fuck ton more substance here. Why do we only focus on the illegal immigrant part? Why do we not focus on any of the other substance in the whole webinar? I mean, obviously, it's an hour long. I can't even get through the entire thing without dedicating an entire chunk of my time to it. But why do we just pretend that none of that exists, Fox News? I don't know, something deceptive framing from a news entertainment organization?
Look at this. Where is the line on impediment? Where does that fine line so we can instruct ICE officers what they can do when people don't open the doors or try to evade their arrest? So I simply asked DOJ, give me a legal opinion, because every Department of Justice will interpret things differently. What is the legal opinion on impediment? And we'll see what happens.
How significant are the businesses that the dangerous cartels have started up in America? I'm talking about the human trafficking businesses, the safe houses in several cities in this country, and the stash houses, as well as the drug cartel business. How significant has that business become that the drug cartels are running inside America?
Look, the drug cartels are like a Fortune 500 company. Some of these drug cartels, the Jalisco cartel, they're operating in 43 nations, 43 different countries around the globe. They used to be, back in my day when I was an agent, they were responsible for, smuggling drugs into the United States and to our major cities, and it'd be distributed by local gangs. Now they have a footprint in every major city in this nation. They have taken over the distribution channels within the United States.
You know how you solve a lot of that? I'm going to be perfectly honest. You solve a lot of that by legalizing many of those drugs. I shit you not. If you remove the black market value from several drugs, you remove the ability to run those drugs as a business. You force those cartels to operate differently as a business. The human trafficking thing, obviously, you can't, I mean, when I say you can't do anything about, I don't mean that. What I'm saying is, when it comes to human trafficking, the way that you have to handle that is by engaging in best practices when it comes to human trafficking. But the best practices that we've had for dealing with drug cartels for the last few years, for the last 20 years, since Nixon, have been completely ineffective. And they're completely ineffective because the goal is not to, quote, win the war on drugs. The goal is to perpetuate the war on drugs. Steigander says, you want to know how to solve undocumented immigration? Target the companies hiring undocumented workers. So, yes, but. Paige says, in combating human trafficking, you mean? I'm feeling like this is going to be an area of disagreement. But no, we've been largely unsuccessful in dealing with drugs in the country because we've been fighting the drug war the way that Nixon wanted us to fight the drug war, treating it as more of a race war. When it comes to human trafficking, the best thing I can say is I am not an expert there and I've done less research there. So whatever practices work best there are the ones that need to be followed. But I do not know anything about the human trafficking industry. I am no expert where that is concerned, and I've not done enough research to have an opinion there, other than whatever the best practices are, those need to be followed. I do not know the solution there. But I do know that when it comes to drugs, if those drugs are legalized, you remove the ability for those to become black market drugs. The easier people have access to these things, the less isolating of an experience it is to get them, which also inadvertently makes it harder for people to get hooked on them in the first place. Because one of the major contributing factors to drug addiction is isolation. Also, for people who want to engage in recreational drug use, those drugs being legalized works out better for them too. Because there's issues with people buying illicit drugs out on the market that are cut with fucking fentanyl and shit and dying because of that. And you avoid that when you provide safe and legal opportunities to get those things. Sakura says regulations that mean less adulteration of the drugs. Yeah. So, fun thing, when you have black market drugs, in the United States, you create an industry where those drugs need to be more potent. Now, why do those drugs need to be more potent? Well, because you need to lower the weight of those drugs. You need to be able to send more of them across state lines, across borders, or just even in the fucking cities that you're selling them in. You need to be able to send more of it with requiring less foot traffic. It costs you less money. It's less risk if the police get involved. All of that shit. So how do you do that? Well, you increase the potency of those drugs. Well, the potency of a drug is directly going to be correlated with its toxicity. The more potent that you make any illicit substance, the more likely it is that somebody is going to overdose on that substance. If you keep these substances as black market substances, then over time, and as we have seen over the last 20, 30 years, those substances are going to get more and more potent over time so that smaller and smaller doses can be carried over longer distances while making the same, if not more, money for the cartels. And because you have stronger doses of these drugs, the ability to control dosage from the end user is infinitely harder. And when that happens, you get more people overdosing and dying. You get more people hooked on these things. And like I said, one of the most important factors when it comes to addiction is isolation. The more you force people to go into the criminal underground in order to get these substances for recreation, the more isolated they are going to be from their friends, from their families. Autumn Dust, thank you for rating. The more isolated they are from their friends and their families, and the more likely it is that they are going to remain hooked on these things, as opposed to being able to engage in them recreationally, temporarily, or for any amount of time. And you can't get rid of the criminal underworld by just attacking the freaking criminal underworld. That doesn't work. Autumn Dust says, hello gamers. Magic Strength says, what? Magic Strength, are you from Autumn Dusk's raid? And you're lacking context there? Now, we're basically talking about people moving illicit drugs and why the war on drugs doesn't work. And the war on drugs doesn't work because all the war on drugs does is basically create criminal empires that are willing to make drugs infinitely more potent. And when you make those drugs more potent, they become more lethal for the end users. But you have to make them more potent because you have to be able to move smaller dosages of them around where there is smaller risks involved to the people moving them and also smaller risks involved for the cartels supplying them. You've basically done nothing but incentivize people. Congrats to drugs for winning the war on drugs. Soccer says it's not just increased potency. Oh, I know it's not just increased potency. But ultimately, keeping drugs on the black market makes things way more dangerous for everybody involved. Soccer points out it's unsafe substances being added to drugs. Agreed. When it becomes cheaper to cut a dosage of cocaine with fentanyl, you then get more people who are harmed or die because of overdosing, because they think they're taking a line of coke. They're not worried about the fent that's in there anymore. They're not thinking about that. They don't know they need to think about that. And yeah, this is also where you get like the bootleg moonshine shit from before. We know that banning illicit substances doesn't actually work. We know that it doesn't actually function. But as per usual, what do we do about all this? Well, as of right now, this is mostly Fox thinking that editing this segment works in their favor. When they're just saying, oh, AOC was talking about how to avoid ICE. Grabbing the actual context from the clip can help. Okay, ultimately, the thing that is being touted here is It's not necessarily misinformation. It's a skewed perspective on information. So the best thing to do when Fox News is doing shit like this is to A, be more informed, and B, have that information documented somewhere on your phone, use a notes app or anything like that. And when somebody brings up any of these points about how we are fighting how we're fighting the drug war, or what AOC has been doing, trying to help illegal immigrants evade ICE, have timestamps, have everything available for these things, but make sure that when you're engaging in the kinds of conversations where people talk about Fox News or talk, ill of AOC or any of that shit, make sure that when you're engaging in those conversations with people, they are people in real life, and you are having these conversations in intimate settings. Not intimate like, y'all are fucking and talking about the news. But no, like, literally, people respond better in these situations when it is a one-on-one conversation without an audience. When it is a one-on-one conversation with no audience, and you can go, before you even show them any information, hey, what would it take to change your mind? How would your perspective change if you were wrong? And then show them that they are wrong here. Obviously, normally we would engage in the Socratic method for individual people when they are trying to use skewed perspectives like what is on Fox News. But if they are grabbing a particular clip, giving the context of the clip, and before giving the context, making sure to prime the person, letting them know, hey, what if you're wrong? Or how would you feel if you were wrong? Or how would you know that you were wrong? If you do that, you are more likely to experience some form of success because you strip down those defenses. And right now, when it comes to stuff like this, the best thing you can do is make sure that the people around you are informed. It's way easier to get organized for political action when the people around you are as informed as you. You don't want people around you being low information voters or low information enjoyers of politics. As per usual, there are going to be links in the description for the video that will take you to the... Wow, my brain just fried there. There are links in the description for ResistBot and 5 calls. Those links will take you to places where you can get in contact with your local senators, where you can get in contact with your local representatives. Then there's also links to the Democratic Socialist of America, so you can get in contact with your local chapter. And as always, I implore each and every one of you to check on Facebook, check on Meet Me, check on Mobilize for your local meetups, for your local Democratic or other political party. That way you can get more involved in trying to make the world a better place. The scariest thing right now is that most of the people involved in politics look like this fucker, barely able to speak geriatric son of a bitches. And those people do not need to be the ones in charge anymore. I'm sorry, they don't have the stake that all of us do. Anyway, thank you all for watching. My brain is starting to fry. Insert end of video tagline here. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it just a little bit.